Good morning, everybody. This is the Dynasty Playbook, Dynasty Fantasy Football subreddit's dedicated podcast. I'm your host, Drew. You can find me on Reddit at EAF_Marine and on Twitter at Drew.NFL. With me again this week is Dave. You can find him on Reddit at NTux96 and on Twitter at DynastyDaveII. Dave, how are you doing this morning?
Pretty well. Glad to be back this week. I guess we had a little snafu last week, but we're here this week.
Yeah, I got stuck at my mother-in-law's last week, so I am glad to be free. How was your Thanksgiving?
Yeah, pretty good.
That's good. Yeah, I got to play the run around with her family, so that was that was fun. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of football because um, we got to skip house to house. I got to watch most of the Bears Lions game, but after that it was a whole lot of nothing. Damn shame. But what are you gonna do? Sometimes you just got to play the game.
Yep.
Um, but I think we might as well just jump into it because we got a lot to cover today.
That we do.
Um, I don't think we really have anything for the week in review, do we?
Oh, I do want to do one little mention that we actually hit over 1,000 a couple weeks ago. So we actually have over 1,000 subscribers on the subweb Reddit right now. So
We did. That was actually last month, beginning of last month. I posted that in the chat on the subreddit's Money League. We've hit highs in daily posts, daily comments, daily visits. The subreddit's blowing up, and hopefully that's gonna translate into more viewers for us, and hopefully more people just bringing in awesome suggestions because we're hardly covering any players of our own suggestion because people have just been putting in great suggestions for the show. So hopefully that continues.
yeah, I'd rather talk about what they want to talk about than rather than picking players because that's really you end up running out of players you really want to talk about.
Exactly. But real quick, we can review. We lost a couple of players to the injured reserve this week. Big one, Brandon Marshall. Poor guys. Um, but I think this not really a whole lot to say about it except for rest in peace for those of y'all who were riding him in the playoffs. Um, Justin Hunter just went on IR with lacerated spleen. I can only imagine how bad that hurts. If you guys like Justin Hunter, I'm going out and buying him. I'm pretty sure you could probably pick him up for maybe even a late second. I'm still not giving up on Justin Hunter until I see what he can do with a legitimate quarterback. I mean, at the cost of a late second, you're not getting a whole lot of great talent in the late second in this draft, I don't think. Um, Carlos Williams out of FSU, that's who you're looking at. I'd rather take the shot on Justin Hunter. I've seen some things I like out of him so far.
Late second in this coming draft, yeah, I'd probably give him up to get Hunter. And
Yeah.
yes, Hunter's injured now, and people probably want to get rid of him because he's injured right now, and they probably will.
Yep.
He hasn't really showed anything this year.
Especially late in the season, those playoff teams. If you have one of those leagues where it's a shallow IR roster, you've only got say 2 spots, and they don't have room on their IR for Justin Hunter. That's a chance to strike because I have multiple leagues where I'm taking up active roster spots with players that are on injured reserve because I refuse to cut them. I've got Brandon Cooks still sitting on my active roster in some leagues. I've got Brian Quick sitting on my active roster in some leagues just because I don't have enough IR spots. And hell, if I'm cutting them, so those are the chances. Come kind of get in there and strike. Some of these guys need that roster spot. They think they need to maximize whatever they can. That's your chance to strike.
Yep.
So anybody else go down that you think is a decent shot to try and buy right now?
Well, I think you covered the two, Brandon Marshall, but you probably don't want to pick him up. He's an aging veteran for the most part, but it is a little disappointing for those playoff teams that were riding him, though.
Right.
Unless you want to pick him up for next year.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in win now mode and you think you've only got a couple years, I mean, you say you've got a strong team, and you just want one extra piece to try and make a push for the next couple years. Yeah, I mean, see what he's going to cost you. It's not a bad move to just go out there and test the market, but um, no, you're probably only getting him for probably 2 years at wide receiver 1 or 2 production. Um, but I think that's it. I think we can go ahead and move on and cover the couple of players we got for our discussions this week.
Sounds good.
You want to go ahead and start off with one of your guys?
Well, I was gonna start off with Josh Gordon last week, but since he actually returned, he actually did pretty decent. Although I don't think he's really on the page with the QB yet, and he's having his own issues still getting into the swing of things. But he had a decent week when he came back.
Yep. Well, I mean, yeah, I can kind of understand not really being in sync yet. They haven't had a lot of time to practice together. He's still getting targeted just out the wazoo. I think he's had 27 targets in 2 games. It's insane.
Yeah.
That's on par with what he was getting last season.
Yeah. So I think he's definitely a piece. He's hopefully want to get in the playoffs and win it for you if you still have him. But I just hope he actually gets on page with Hoyer or Manziel, whoever's starting that Browns QB spot. I mean,
Speaking of, you're a Browns fan. What's your opinion on the QB position for the season?
for the season, I know they're going with Hoyer. I'm not totally positive that's the right direction. I know a lot of people are saying, well, he's the only Browns QB since '99 with a winning record, but Derek Anderson was probably the winning record in 2007 when they had their 10-6 season. It's just I'm not seeing his throws being consistent. He's throwing behind a lot of people. He's throwing over people. He's throwing it to the defenders too much. Um, but then again, is Manziel, is he really gonna do any better? That's the question that's pretty much there.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where Manziel might have upside, but at the same time, he could be making those rookie mistakes too and throw those costly interceptions that could cost him the game. He might not be making those throws and getting them downfield very well, but he has done pretty well not turning the ball over.
Oh, he has been doing terrible the last 2 weeks, turning the ball over.
Yeah.
3 interceptions against the Bills last week, which did get him pulled from the game, which brought in Manziel for his first series play, other than just a few gadget plays here and there.
I meant overall, not against the Bills. The Bills was terrible. Terrible, terrible.
Yeah. Well, I guess
Terrible for Crowell, too.
We'll see probably this week coming into Indianapolis and how he deals with this adversity this week.
Yeah. So back to Josh Gordon. What are you doing about him? If you own any shares of him, are you selling him? Are you buying him? What are you?
I'd probably hold on to him. I mean, he's a top wide receiver in the NFL. The only red flags on him is his red flags with his suspensions and so forth. But hopefully this actually screwed some things back in his head that's going to keep him clean going forward.
What would you sell him for? If you got an offer straight up for any player, what players would you sell him for? Sell him for Dez?
What was that?
Would you sell him for Dez?
I'd probably sell him for Dez. I mean, they're both comparable. I mean, they're both going to give you those wide receiver 1 points. I'd probably still want to get probably maybe a draft pick as well, just thrown in. But I'm a big fan of the Browns, so I'm probably a little biased on that one.
Fair enough. I hadn't considered that. How about Demaryius Thomas?
Demaryius Thomas.
Straight up, no draft picks.
The one thing about Demaryius Thomas that is going to worry me is how is he going to react with a different QB other than Peyton Manning? With Josh Gordon, you could see that he's not really QB dependent. I mean, he dealt with Whedon, the whole QB carousel last year with the Browns, and he actually was the number one wide receiver last year with that sorry group of throwers. So, I mean, he's not really as QB dependent. Demaryius Thomas hasn't really got that chance to actually shown that he's QB dependent enough because he's had Peyton Manning to throw to him. And how long is Peyton Manning going to be in this league? Is he going to retire this year, next year? And that's going to be the one issue that you need to see with Demaryius Thomas on that.
How about Calvin?
A lot of people are high on Calvin. One problem with Calvin I see is he's getting up there in age. I mean, if it really depends on my other makeup on my team. If I'm going to win now, more close to winning now, I probably would look at maybe trading for Calvin. But if I'm rebuilding, you definitely got to stick with the younger guys.
Yeah, I can see that. For me, if I can get any of those top wide receivers, if I can get Julio, AJ, Dez, Demaryius, if I can get Sammy Watkins, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, if I can get any of them for Josh Gordon, I'm taking it. I know that Josh Gordon offers top tier upside, like not like wide receiver one, as in like that top tier. I'm talking about wide receiver number one upside, but it's sketchy knowing that I can wake up tomorrow morning knowing he's suspended for 10 games out of the season. It's not the same as knowing, hey, we could wake up tomorrow and knowing he's got an indefinite suspension. So it's not, the risk isn't the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's hard to really associate because, everybody's got injury risk too, but I associate this more like if they were really concussion prone, because once you have a drug problem, it relapses much more likely to occur. Just like once you've had a concussion, concussions are a lot more likely to occur. So to me, that risk factor is a lot more increased with Josh Gordon as opposed to Julio's foot injury or what have you. So Josh Gordon's at the lower end of my wide receiver one tier because of that risk factor, but you can't deny the talent. I mean, God, I love watching him play, but
he is an exciting player to watch and play, and that's kind of why a lot of people want to see him because he just has that excitement behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want him on your team, I will not fault you. I will not argue with you taking him number one overall in your startup drafts because I almost did it this offseason. I'm not lying. We were starting our startup draft in one of my leagues the day after the NFL draft started, and I'm sure you remember, the whispers started coming out in the day 2 of the NFL draft, and for weeks leading up to this startup, I had it set in stone. I was taking Josh Gordon number one overall in the startup draft. I had the 101. And this news comes out day 2 of the draft, and my heart just sank because I hadn't even considered doing anything else. It was Josh Gordon or bust. I ended up trading away the 101 and just didn't care. Didn't even make a first round pick in that draft. Because I totally get it. I absolutely get the Josh Gordon love. There's nothing not to love about his game. But at a certain point, it's the risk. That's the only reason I can see not having him on your roster. Because otherwise, if pot becomes legal in the NFL, he's the number one wide receiver in the NFL for the next 10 years, bar none.
If he keeps his head clean, then then he's going to be the number one wide receiver as well. And this is a matter if you want to take that risk on him or not. I mean, if you're a risk taker, can take him, definitely.
Exactly. He's QB proof. He doesn't have injury problems like AJ Green and Julio have had. He's what, 22 and a half, so he's a year older than Brandon Cooks is. It's ridiculous. I mean, this is about to turn into the Josh Gordon uh, love fest hour. So let's move on.
Yeah,
I
let's
like
not.
Josh Gordon, but I'm scared of the risk. There we go. On to another pothead. My guy, the only guy I put down this week is Justin Blackman. Um, Not a whole lot to say here, but it is looking like he's eventually going to come back in the league. So right now, while everybody's kind of still sleeping on that idea, now time to go try and pick him up because when he's on the field, he puts up borderline wide receiver one numbers. If you can go out there, he's a free agent, snag him up now, like with the quickness. Um, Go out there, put out a third round pick, see what you can get. If they're making a playoff run, send them a veteran player that could start for them. Send them a handcuff they might need. Something. Try and get him on your team because if he gets back in there, he could legitimately boost your starting lineup. Um, Dave, what are you thinking about Justin Blackman?
I think I'm like everyone else who's Blackman's not really on my radar at the moment, and basically because he's been out of the league for how long? A couple of years now.
About a year and a half.
Year and a half because of his own drug problems, and he just recently went into rehab trying to get his way back. Maybe. I mean, is he really working his way back to NFL? Or is he just working to improve himself? And if he does go back to the NFL, how's he gonna be? Is he gonna be back to his normal self, or is he actually just gonna be just out of sync with the league and just not do well?
That excellent question. You could be completely right. He might come back and just not be the same player. The reports are coming out that the Jaguars are looking at a 2015 return for him. That's kind of why the interest is picking up for him. And even if he comes back and doesn't look remotely the same, I feel like a third round pick is a palatable investment for that because there's not many third round picks where you're going to get that kind of upside for it. It's not this past draft where you could have got John Brown or Jerick McKinnon or sometimes Isaiah Crowell for that type of third round pick. So, especially if it's a late third, I'm willing to take that kind of risk.
Good things. I think you did. I think you hit the nail. Basically, third round pick. What are you losing? Free agent. What are you really losing other than a roster spot?
Really.
If you have room, why not hold them? I mean,
Yeah.
who else is on your roster that you have to hold? Now, if you have people on your roster that you don't want to get rid of, that's gonna be a whole different ball of wax. But
Yeah. Anybody else you wanted to hit on this week before we move on?
how's your thoughts on Jordan Matthews? How do you feel has he been performing in Philadelphia as a rookie?
I love him. I still
Going
love
back,
him.
going back to the draft, I think that him and Cooks were pretty much interchangeable in the beginning of the year in the draft. A lot of people
Not for
were
me.
kind of topsing turning. Okay, do you go Cooks first or you go Matthews first? That I think that was the major debate at the beginning of the year. Um, has that changed? Would you still go Cooks first?
Well, my debate was do I go Cooks or Evans first at 102? So that wasn't an issue for me. But Matthews was solid, my 104 pick. Granted, if we did a redraft now, he wouldn't be that high because Odell Beckham's moving up. Um, Possibly even Devontae Adams moving up. But I could still see Jordan Matthews duking it out with Devontae Adams because they were. I saw Devontae Adams go to 105 plenty of times. So Jordan Matthews is solidly just in that conversation. And it's so hard because so many of these wide receivers has looked so good this year. Um, but I'd still be comfortable taking him at 105 after OBJ. Um, he's looked excellent. He's especially with Sanchez. They've had a good rapport together. He's looked every bit the wide receiver I hoped he'd be. and they were saying, he might take some time to adjust to the league. He looks like he's adjusted a lot faster than they were expecting. He's looked really good playing out of the slot. Um, he's dominating these slot corners in the NFL, and I think if Macklin ends up leaving in free agency, which might happen, might not really sure. This he could see some real production in the future in a Chip Kelly offense, and believe me, I want to get me a piece of that Chip Kelly offense. What do you think? What are your thoughts on him? Where are you taking him? If you were doing a redraft of the rookie draft, are you taking him? Who are you taking him after?
I would probably be taking him after Evans. I would take him after Odell Beckham. I'd probably still choose him above Cooks. I think. I'm not. I wasn't too sold on Cooks, and I think he's going to be more of a product of the Breeze offense more than anything. Although I could be wrong on that, but I think Cook is still up there too. But I still like Matthews over Cooks. I mean, that was the big debate going into the last draft. Who do you go? You go Cooks. Evans was typically the solid number 2 for the beginning of the year, and Watkins was still number 1 at the beginning of the year. But I think Matthews is still up there. He's proven that he can actually play in the NFL and give you some fantasy points. Odell Beckham, that was a big surprise this year on how well he's doing over in New York. Kind of wish I probably took him over Hyde now, but
I wish I took him over a lot of people.
Yeah.
I wish I took him over a lot of my Devontae Adams shares and my Jordan Matthews shares, and nothing against those guys, but he's looked everything the part of being a stud. And I should have known better. Like I watched him play at LSU and tear it up, but I don't know. I assumed my homerism was blinding me. But c'est la vie.
I mean, Beckham, he's going like late first. I mean, that's how he was in my draft. I mean, late first. They got a lot of people in those drafts got really excellent value on Beckham, and I don't really think most people saw what he really had. I mean, there's a lot of murmurs in the beginning of the year that he was actually going to do good in New York. Though people just put it off, and a lot of people got good value on him.
Yeah, I ended up lucking out. I saw a point where I could get him for some value in the first couple weeks of the season, where people, when he was still not playing, people were maybe getting a little sour on him, and I traded for him. I traded 2 different leagues. I traded Jerick McKinnon for him straight up, which is looking amazing right now. I traded another league for him. I can't remember what I traded for him. I ended up picking him up in like 4 different leagues early in the season, and getting great value for him. I only drafted him in one league out of like 14, no, 12. I'm in 12 dynasty leagues this offseason, but now I have him in 5. So,
yeah.
I mean, granted, I have Cooks in 11 out of 12. The only one I don't have him in is the stupid charity league. I hate that charity league. I really do. I hate my team in there. It makes me want to kill myself.
Well, at least you don't have my team. Even though I just squeaked into the playoffs, surprisingly, hope on that one.
Yeah. It doesn't help that I hate flea flicker too. It makes me not want to go even look at my team. But and I get it. I can understand. You not wanting to take Cooks over Matthews, and that's perfectly okay. It's not everybody has to have the same opinion. I was very high on Cooks coming into the draft, so I thought he was going to do a lot, and the idea of him paired up with Breeze was very exciting to me. But the way they've used him in New Orleans, I've not been a fan of. They're using him real close to the line of scrimmage, and it's not really. He's got 4.3 speed, and you're putting him 3-4 yards off the line of scrimmage. That's kind of dumb. That's just really dumb. But
well, there's always next year with him.
Yeah.
Because I think the talent is there with Cooks. I just like Matthews a little bit better going into the draft, and that's the way I saw it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest debate I think this year going into this year's rookie draft was Cooks versus Matthews. Everyone was set on Watkins number one, Evans number two. That was pretty much set in stone right there.
And then people started off arguing Evans over Watkins, and now that's not even looking that ridiculous. Evans has been looking good.
Yes, he has.
Um,
Those people who actually did choose Evans over Watkins, they're not losing much. They're not losing much at all.
Yeah. And it's funny, at the beginning of the season when Benjamin started doing real good, and all the people coming out of the woodwork saying, "Yeah, we told you Benjamin was going to be good," and now they're not being so loud anymore because he's starting to drop a whole bunch of balls like we said he was gonna. I mean, he looks better than I thought he was going to, but he's got the exact problems we thought he was going to have. Half of his stats are coming in garbage time when these teams are, playing borderline prevent defense against them. So I think
that's what happens when you get a wide receiver that's known for catching with his body. A lot of balls just bounce right off his numbers, and he drops them. That's why you got to look at those wide receivers that catch with the hands, not the body. And like I'm saying, I don't think he's going to be the wide receiver on that team next year. He's going to have competition on his own team next year, and I don't really think that they're going to go without getting another one either by free agency or draft.
I mean, this guy was 24. He might have been 23 at FSU. This guy physically was huge compared to the corners he was going up against. He could just physically dominate them, and he still had an almost 10% drop rate in college. Playing with quarterbacks that went to the NFL and got drafted in the first round. Like, come on, man, figure it out.
Yeah.
But Benjamin, granted, he should have been drafted higher. I will give that to him. But he's not as high as people. I saw redrafts, people doing rookie redrafts midway through the season. People were taking him at 103. I don't think so. No, he's still 107 for me. 108. I'd still take Moncrief over him. I'm still taking Adams over him. I'm still taking Robinson over him.
I mean, his situation's just too good this year, but I don't think that situation is going to last. I think he's going to end up on a team where that's not going to be relying on him as much as they are this year because he's the only wide receiver on the team right now. And that's why he's getting a lot of points, and his situation is just good like that, and I don't think that's going to stay the same.
Yeah. Wow, man, we really got off topic.
I think it's good topics, though, but the one thing I mean, talking about these rookie wide receivers, this was a really good draft for wide receivers, and if you picked one up this year, you're not really hating it.
Unless it was Marquise Lee, then you're hating it. Then you hate your life. There was only one wrong decision you could make in like the first 18 picks this round, and it was Marquise Lee.
Yeah.
I mean, even Eric Ebron has showed a little bit. He looked decent in that Thanksgiving game. Granted, you shouldn't be taking a tight end that early.
No.
Also, if you pick Bishop Sankey at 101, boo. Shame on you. Because I saw that in a couple of drafts. People took Bishop Sankey at 101.
Ouch.
How bad do you hate your life with as good as Mike Evans and Sammy Watkins have looked?
This wide receiver crop was, you shouldn't probably have been looking for running backs in the first portion of the draft.
Yeah. I mean, if you took Carlos Hyde at 103, it sucks, but at least Carlos Hyde's looked good.
Yeah.
In the limited time he's gotten, plus he's got San Francisco, so he's gonna have a nice future. But I feel like this is enough talking about how wonderful this rookie class was and how great it was that I blew up like 3 of my teams to pile up draft picks for this draft class. I had high hopes this was going to be a great draft class, but I had no idea it was gonna turn out this good this quick.
Yes.
But let's move on to a topic we haven't got to do in a while in our college player discussion, where we actually get to break down some tape on a player and kind of discuss it for the draft going forward. We didn't get to do it last week because we didn't have a show, and then you and Scott both weren't able to watch the show before, so it's been a couple weeks since we were able to break it down. So this week we decided to do one of the wide receivers I liked a lot going into this season that I was hoping to see some real improvement out of, and that's Ty Montgomery. He's a wide receiver, senior wide receiver out of Stanford. Dave, what did you see watching Ty Montgomery?
The one thing I have seen, exactly what you. I mean, he's explosive. I mean, he gets yards out of catches. The one thing I see lacking is that it factor. I just don't get like that little. Okay, I don't get that pick me when I'm watching the highlights. I just don't see it. I think a lot of people say he wasn't as consistent this year, drops here and there. But watching the highlights, to me, it just never caught me. I'm not really enthused to go after him for the most part.
Gotcha. And I'm kind of the exact opposite. I see myself owning Ty Montgomery on a lot of my playoff teams, where I'm going to be picking late in the first round. He's going to be available in the late first round in a lot of places, and I'm probably going to end up owning him. I've liked a lot of what I've seen from him. Granted, I need to watch a lot more tape from 2014 because not a lot of it's available. I want to see. I mean, the only ones that are available are Notre Dame and some scrub team they played. I'm not going to take a whole lot from a scrub game. And Notre Dame, that whole team looked shook. He had drop after drop after drop in that Notre Dame game. So I really need to. I want to see some more and hope that was just an aberration. But he's just incredibly explosive. They use him a lot on jet sweeps. He looks a lot like kind of what we hoped Cordarrelle Patterson would be.
He does have a good ability to run with the ball. I've noticed that. He could push the pile. To me, I mean, late first, early second, yeah, that's probably what I'd be looking at him if you have those picks. I just don't see him in the top portion of the first round. Although this coming draft, I mean, that's going to be. I think this year is going to be a good crop for running backs if a lot of them actually do declare.
Yeah, I see. He's going to be in somewhere in my 9 to 12 range, probably. Maybe 7 to 12, depending on who declares. But my top 6 or 7 is pretty set at this point. But I like Montgomery a lot. Hopefully I see a little bit of improvement from 2013. The biggest thing I saw with him, he's inconsistent. Sometimes you watch him and he looks like he's NFL ready. He looks like he runs crisp routes. He's got just great hands. I was watching his Cal game, 5 touchdown game. He looks like he was 100% NFL ready. One of his touchdowns, he's running, and he looks like he turns all the way around, catches the ball, turns right back upfield without missing a step, and makes the touchdown. But then other games, he has just this awkward, just weird looking footing, and he looks like he's tripping all over himself. His mechanics are just wrong, and I don't understand what the problem is. Some of the games he just has these, he can't catch the ball if it's any kind of contested at all. But if you go to the Washington game back last year, he's got this cornerback draped over his back like he's giving him a piggyback ride, and manages to catch the ball. Like consistency is a problem he lacks, which gives me a lot of hope because it shows that he has the ability to, he has the abilities to be at that NFL level, but he needs the coaching to be able to do it consistently. So if he lands somewhere that has a good wide receiver coach, or even just a good offensive coordinator, or something like that, he could develop into a real NFL talent, and that's what I'm hoping for. Also, for those of you guys that are in leagues that reward punt return, kick return yards, this guy needs to get a bump in your rankings. This guy is a real weapon in the return game. He doesn't, even when the blocking is kind of garbage, he manages to find a hole. He's taking it back for a decent amount of touchdowns, and even when he doesn't get a touchdown, he gets a significant amount of yards. So just keep that in mind. Anything else you want to say about him?
I think we've pretty much covered it. I think the one thing you are worried about him is his consistency. But that can be trainable. He shows that he could do stuff. I do like the way that he runs with the ball once it gets in his hands. And like you said, I think he's going late first, early second in many rookie drafts this year.
Yeah. I think that's it for our scheduled stuff. We need to go ahead and move on to the submitted questions because we got a lot of stuff to cover, and we've already run our mouths a whole good bit so far. Our first submitted question is from a guy who is supposed to be one of our co-hosts when we started, and that's Kimball. His first question is trading studs for pieces, when and how to do it, and when not to. And Dave, I'm going to let you go ahead and start this off because I'm trying to catch my breath still from talking about Ty.
When to trade studs for pieces. When your stud's about to fall off a cliff and you need extra pieces. That's when you start selling your studs. I would probably hold on to your studs as long as you can. I would not be selling your studs that are going to be studs for a long time for just itsy bitsy pieces, unless you really need those pieces to build in a rebuild. Calvin Johnson, I'd probably be one of those players I would be selling for pieces if you're going towards a rebuild mode. Win now mode, I'd still hold on to Calvin Johnson for the next couple of years,
though. I slightly disagree. Granted, rebuild, absolutely sell your studs. Get draft picks, get young prospects, get what you can, get what you got to get. Granted, when I say pieces, I never mean aging veterans. Never trade your studs for aging veterans, ever. When I say trading pieces, I mean you're getting draft picks, you're getting young prospects. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Now you're
say it again.
Young studs, I wouldn't trade away your young studs though, even in a rebuild.
It's situational. I took over a team this past year where it was an all right team. It might have made the playoffs. It was borderline, but I knew if I made the playoffs, I was going to be out in the first round. He had LaShawn McCoy on it. I'm like, this is one of the only real valuable pieces I had. I sold Shady, but I managed to sell him for Keenan Allen in the 101. So I managed to get a stud and a half. Granted, I mean, most of the time you're not going to get a deal that good, but like sometimes even selling your studs is worth it in a rebuild. Sometimes if you take over a rebuild, I took over a rebuild a year or two ago. It just, I mean, dude, it was just like, I think half the team was over 30. Horrible. And I think the only guy I had on there that was worth anything was Gronk. And I sold him. And I got some draft picks. I got some young players to try and work with, and I had to get something because I had nothing anywhere else. I mean, if this was a team in another league I was in, half of these guys would have been I wouldn't have even considered keeping them on my roster. But some of those kind of rebuilds are fun because like let's see how long it's going to take me to just undig this pile of crap. But trading like another good example of when a good time to trade your studs are say they just had a monster season and you think hey they're not going to be able to repeat that. You think it's going to cause them to decline in value. A good example of that is this past year. I thought Jamal Charles. He had that monster season. I thought, he's getting older. I think he's not gonna be able to repeat that season. I think he's gonna drop in value. Granted, he's lost a little bit of value, but he's tended to stay in pat. But had he not repeated his season, or had he dropped off more than he has, he would have lost more value, and that would have been a more pertinent move. But that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where you try and guess what's going to happen the next season, and you try and get off the train early. But really, those are the only times. Otherwise, you're holding on to your studs. Those are the players that are going to take you to a championship. Pieces half the time are not going to take you to a championship. Draft picks, I love collecting me some draft picks, but half the time when you're getting these draft picks, you're using them in the chances you're going to find a stud. So if you're trading a stud away in the hopes of maybe getting a stud, seems kind of counterproductive.
Yeah, you definitely need to get a piece plus a draft pick when you do that. A lot of times you don't want to trade your studs unless you're really in the rebuild mode. If you're in the win now, you definitely got to ride them. But if you are in a rebuild, definitely look into getting some good deals for your studs. Don't sell them cheap by any means. Just don't get rid of them just to get rid of them, just because you're in a rebuild. Because otherwise, you need to get your value for your studs. You just can't trade them off just because you can. You just need to trade them for some good pieces at least.
Yeah, like I've seen some of these deals trading away studs, and it makes me want to throw up my mouth. If I've got like Julio or Dez or AJ on a rebuilding team, and like it's a time to blow it up rebuilding team, I want like 3 first-round picks and like a throw-in player I like, or 3 players that are worth a first-round pick. I get out of here with a first-round pick and some turd. No. I need some pieces that are really gonna help me rebuild my team. A first-round pick and another guy is not gonna rebuild my team.
Mm-hmm. You're just trying to win by stealing my stud just for some junk. That's
Right.
not me. Trades should be able to help both teams. You don't have to win trades. You just have to make sure that they're actually going to help your team. That's what trading's for. You just don't trade. You just try to screw over the other guy. Although there's a lot of teams that try to do that.
Yeah, and I mean I don't know if you've ever listened to the Under the Helmet podcast. Is one of the ones I enjoy more. They talk about hey, you don't always have to win a trade now. And that's kind of one of the mindset I've taken on lately, because there's so many guys that just don't want to trade with you because if they're not winning the trade right now, they won't trade. So I've resorted to, hey, I'm going to lose this trade now, but in 6 months, hey, I'm going to be the one that won this trade. So, I think we've covered that pretty well.
Yeah.
I think this next one is one of the ones I like better. This one comes from Big Tut, and he said, I don't know if you guys already covered this, but if not, I have a question about Sammy Watkins. Obviously, he's a very talented player, but given his situation in Buffalo, lack of a solid starting quarterback, lack of other weapons to draw defensive attention away from him, etc., do you think we'll continue to see little output from him in the coming seasons? And I'm going to take the reins on this because I pulled up some stats for it pretty much as soon as he said it. because it surprised me how he worded it. Um, Based on when he wrote it, uh, I decided to pull up his stats, and I prorated them for a 16-game season. Right now, Sammy Watkins is on pace for a 68 reception, 933 yards, and almost 7 touchdown season. If you compare that to all rookie wide receivers over the last 20 years, only 10 wide receivers have finished with more receptions in their rookie year, and only 14 have more yards. So that means pretty much since Sammy Watkins has been alive, only a wide receiver every other year has had that many receptions, and uh, roughly a wide receiver every couple of years. 2 wide receivers every 3 years have had that many yards. So it's funny that you say he's had low output because statistically he's having a very good rookie season, but because of how good the other rookie wide receivers are, it looks like he's having a bad season. When in reality, he's having almost as good a rookie season as Keenan Allen did, who people were losing their shit over last year, me included. Um, and I think that says a lot that he's able to put up a season like that with lack of a starting quarterback, and the only other real offensive weapon in Buffalo is Robert Woods, who I like, but he's mostly a possession receiver. Where Keenan Allen did that as essentially the only weapon on that offense with Phillip Rivers throwing him the ball. So I'd say that's actually a very good indicator for Sammy Watkins, and he's eventually going to get a good quarterback behind him. So I would absolutely not give up hope on Sammy Watkins. Dave, I want you to go ahead and give me your take. What do you think?
I think watching the Browns and the Bills play, I think Watkins is the wide receiver down. Mainly because if you actually watch the Browns game, who did he have covering the whole game? Hayden. That's why he wasn't getting as many targets last game. They were throwing to Woods. Woods being on that team is going to help Watkins and so forth and so forth. I think with those teams that don't have those stud cornerbacks, I think you're going to see Watkins just tear it up, and the Bills are going to be able to utilize Watkins. Having a better QB on that team will help him tremendously as well. And like all situations, they change. Bills are probably going to get another QB in there. I don't think the QB situation is going to stay the same in the Bills, and hopefully it doesn't because Watkins needs a better QB. And once he gets that better QB in there, you need to watch out for Watkins because then he's going to be more targeted even against the Haydens and the Shermans and all the better cornerbacks where the QB is not fearless to actually throw in their direction. I think once that happens, you're going to see him targeted more, and Watkins is going to be the wide receiver that's targeted even on those good cornerbacks.
Yeah. Imagine Sam Bradford ends up going to Buffalo this offseason. That he's not the best, but I think it's a solid enough quarterback to do something solid with Sammy Watkins.
And for Watkins being a rookie wide receiver, he had the number one cornerback on him a lot. Teams are focusing on Watkins, and that says a lot for his talent right there. I mean, if teams are focusing on him and making sure he's covered, that just shows you what the talent of Watkins has. And going into the rookie draft, I probably still would pick a number one, even over Evans. Although what Evans showed this year, it might still be a wash-up, but I'd still probably go Watkins.
I'd have to consider Evans just based on, he's doing this with Josh McCown and Mike Glennon also competing for targets with Vincent Jackson. So Mike Evans has been fairly impressive, though he's gotten a decent amount of his numbers on some fairly busted coverages. So, neither answer is the wrong answer. Hell, I'd consider Beckham at 101. Damn it, that's my stupid internet froze up again. My freaking browser. I don't know why the hell it does this, and the little warning notification friggin' disappears after 5 seconds. It's the dumbest crap ever.
You need to use Chrome over Firefox, and maybe that's your problem.
No, no, because then I'd have to kill myself. Alright. We're taking a walk to hit my tablet so I can use Google Chrome. Or not Google Chrome, so I can get up my Google Drive so I can pull up the script. We're taking a walk.
I think you want to move on to the next one?
Well, it's not really a next one. It's a continuation of the current question. It comes from Can't Hear You, and it says, to continue on the topic, maybe another good thing to do is discuss if you'd still take him first overall if you could do the rookie draft over. I'd personally highly consider Beckham or Evans over him, which we kind of already talked about, but would you take Beckham over Evans?
I probably would actually look at maybe Beckham over Evans. Although I mean that top three though, I mean, looking now, it's more of like, okay, who do you like better? I mean, you can't go wrong with either three, in my opinion. This just shows you how good this wide receiver class was. Um, I might be tempted to go Beckham, although Watkins, I think Watkins is still the number one, just because he's been number one the whole time. I think it's going to be hard to pry him off the number one, considering that he's been the consensus number one for so long, and he has shown that he has the talent for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I might actually take Evans number one, and I might even consider Beckham at number two. But I think I finally come off my high horse, and I think I'd move Cooks down to number four. That hurts me to say, but they have looked so damn good. It's not even me talking bad about Cooks. It's just, damn, they've looked good. These guys are going to be in 3 or 4 years when Julio and all of them are starting to reach that Calvin Johnson age. This is going to be the next crop of guys that are going in the top 2 and 3 picks, and it's going to be crazy.
Well, good wide receivers to choose from now.
It's going to get to the point where it's going to be all wide receivers for the first round, probably after next season. I wouldn't even be surprised. All right, I'm pulling up the script now.
Yeah. Well, Lucifer X88 brought up that he bought McCoy low a couple weeks ago, and he was wondering if you were to sell him now, what wide receivers should he be asking for in return?
Oh, that's a good question. Who should he be asking for?
Who would you ask for?
Who would I ask for?
For McCoy, who has been kind of a little disappointing this year, but he actually looks like he's actually putting more effort into it now.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it has anything to do with McCoy's effort. I think it has to do with the fact that his offensive line is healthy. The whole offensive line is healthy for the first time since like the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I think if I'm selling him, I'm asking for any wide receiver outside of. Are you kidding me? My freaking Google Drive is not working.
You're just having technical difficulties at the wazoo this morning, aren't you?
No kidding. Oh my gosh. You know what? I am just going to close Firefox and reopen it. I will be back in 5 seconds. Just give me 5 seconds.
I'll give you 5 seconds.
I apologize, everyone.
I think at this point, I could probably talk about another discussion about from Barles, basically wondering what are some going-alongs in our leagues, what playoff situation looks like, and what teams you really dislike or like. Trades maybe gone through. I think the one team I really do like is one on ESPN. The Dynasty League I'm in the longest. Mainly, I'm in the playoffs on that one. Of course, that makes it easier to like because you're in the playoffs, of course. and I think we got Drew back.
Yep, I'm back.
Well, right now I actually skipped over a few questions from Barles, where Barles wants to hear about some going ons in our leagues and what does the playoff situation look like. I think I skipped over to that one because basically I want to talk about my team.
Fair enough.
This team's probably the one I'm in the longest dynasty wise. This is the one I'm actually a league manager in, mainly because this is the one where I actually took over the league management. But I do like this team a lot. Basically, it won me the championship last year, and this year I'm back in the playoffs. I just barely squeaked in this time, though. Wasn't where I was tearing up the league like I was last year. This is a independent IDP league, which is the individual defensive players, which is probably hurting my team this year is my defensive players. I actually have it ready to actually show you on the screen share as well. If you want to look at it.
It's on ESPN.
Yeah, ESPN. Not the
You gotta
best.
zoom that in.
Not the best, but it's not flea flicker, so got that going for me at least.
Zoom in. We can't see it. I can't read any of those names.
You see now?
There we go. That's better.
Let me zoom out a little.
Now scroll down. Nope, can't see it. There we go.
This is a team I basically started with the startup. I had no QBs. I eventually did get Robert Griffin in the draft previous year. I ended up trading away though once I got Wilson. So I have Wilson as my QB. I think the longest player I've had on this team was McCoy. I had him since the startup, but I was able to build up my running backs with Bell. And this is pretty much my team. Of course, I'll get your opinion on that. What do you think of my team? Do I have a really good chance of maybe repeating this year, hopefully?
Oh, it looks horrible. I mean, you're starting Alan Hearns.
Oh, yeah, I probably should look in. Yeah, that's the one portion of my team I think I'm really hurting is my wide receivers. Though Hopkins has shown last week that he actually could put up some points.
Oh yeah, plus he's playing Tennessee this week. Who do you have on your bench that you're starting Hearns over?
Good question. Here's my bench right here. My bench probably isn't as good as I want it to be.
Okay, first of all, I'd be starting. I'd definitely be starting Jordan Reed over Hearns. Can you flex a tight end?
Yeah, I could flex a tight end.
I'd be starting Reed over Hearns. I'd be starting maybe even Robert Woods over Hearns.
Also, Stedman Bailey if he actually keeps his run.
Hell, I'd probably start Carlos Hyde over Hearns too, playing against Oakland. But I'm not playing Hearns. Could you hear me that whole time? Because I just realized I had my mic up.
Very, very, very low.
Oh, sorry about that, everybody. I was talking about playing players. It's not important. I don't know why we're even doing this. Nobody else cares. The people who are listening to this at home can't even see this. If they're listening on Stitcher, this is dumb.
Ah, good point.
This is dumb. All right, let's go back to Lucifer's question.
Where we got you had problems.
All right, Lucifer's question.
You bought McCoy low a couple weeks ago, and he was wondering if you could sell him now. What wide receivers would you be looking at?
If I'm selling him, I'm asking for any wide receivers outside of Julio, Dez, Demarius, AJ, Calvin, Antonio Brown. Maybe Sammy and Mike Evans. If I can get Alshon Jeffrey for him, I'm asking. I'm gonna ask for Mike Evans or Sammy Watkins. I doubt I'm gonna get it, but I'm gonna ask. Because he's still. I mean, I can't really think of any running back besides Le'Veon Bell that I'm gonna rank higher than him in Dynasty right now.
I think you bought him low. I think you're gonna have to ride him. I like McCoy still. I think his issue has like what you said, his offensive line.
Yeah.
Uh,
If I can get any of those wide receivers, Jeffrey, Mike Evans, Sammy Watkins, I'm taking that.
I mean, I think going into next year, I think McCoy is going to show us what he's had, why you hold on to him. I think next year a lot of teams are going to be writing him into the playoffs next year. Uh,
Yeah.
I think you bought him low. Congratulations, you got a good player. I don't think anyone's going to give you the Watkins or the wide receivers you really want from McCoy right now. And is it really worth even trying to get one of those wide receivers that's going to be not that good as the number ones?
Yeah. Um. So any other wide receivers that you'd want straight up for that you'd take straight up for McCoy right now?
Great McCoy. I might actually consider a Hopkins if you throw in some picks. But
Yeah, I'm trying to just think of this without picks because with
yeah,
picks I'd take Cooks. I'd take Odell Beckham straight up for LaShawn McCoy right now.
that might be a good one to look at. Odell
Um.
Beckham for McCoy would probably be a good wide receiver to look for. Although I'd still probably throw in a pick.
Yeah, if you can get Odell Beckham for him straight, I'd go ask for Odell Beckham and something else for Shady, and then be willing to move down to just Odell Beckham for Shady straight up.
Yeah.
Because in a year or two, in 2 years, you're gonna be glad you did that.
When you're doing trade talks, that's what you want to do is not talk. Okay, try to throw in the picks.
Yeah, start off with the picks and be willing to talk yourself down to just doing it straight up. Um, but I think we covered that pretty well. Let's go back to Barlos's thing, and since you got to brag about your top league, I'm gonna go ahead and brag about mine. Um, I'm gonna start off with with the best parts about this league. I finished the year at 10-2. I got the number one bye, and the last 2 weeks before the bye, I set the league record for highest score. I broke the record, and then I broke it again the next week. It was ridiculous. The crazy thing is, the 2 weeks I lost to them both in division to the guy that's getting the 102. I mean the 101 pick. He's won 3 games, and 2 of them were against me.
Good job.
The worst part was one of the games I beat him on Monday, but I lost to him on a stat correction on Thursday because they changed a chambering reception into a carry, and I lost. I lost on that PPR point. I was so mad, but it doesn't matter. I ended up with the number one bye anyways. This
Yeah.
team, I traded. I ended up trading AJ Green and I talked about this a while ago. AJ Green and Julio and some other pieces, and I got Le'Veon Bell and Dez and some other pieces, and Dez and Bell have been performing a lot better than Green and Julio, especially considering Green
Yeah.
didn't play for a whole lot of the season, and Julio hasn't done as good as he was.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah. I'm definitely happy with what Bell did on my team this year. Although I'm only 8-5 in this league, so I'm like, although I could have probably used the bye week on this one because I'm facing Murray, who already put up 33 points, and I'm already down by 48 points in that team. But I haven't had played any of my players yet, so I have that going for me. But it's kind of hard when you start 48 points in the hole and you haven't even played a single player yet. It's like first week in the playoffs, and you don't want to see yourself losing the first week. And it's like, I could really use that bye like I got last year.
Yeah.
Any other leagues that you really like or really hate?
Yeah, I hate the charity league
I think
a
I'm gonna
lot.
throw that in.
I don't know. I might pull out of the charity league next year just so I don't have to go to Flea Flicker anymore. I really hate Flea Flicker.
Yeah. It's not the
But
best. Although the one thing I was going for was low league entry fees.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's either that or ESPN. And I just thought maybe Flea Flicker might have been a little bit better for Dynasty than.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing a couple on ESPN. I have no problem with it on ESPN. It's a little more work than what you get from my fantasy league, but you don't have to pay the $60 each year for it.
Yeah. I mean, Flea Flicker. If you're doing Dynasty, if for free, you need to go with Flea Flicker, but because ESPN or Yahoo both suck, and it's just awful. But
Very good.
I'm gonna be beta testing a new fantasy platform for Dynasty here in the next month or so. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it'll be better.
Yeah. I mean, I do ESPN. I like the interface. The only problem with Dynasty is though it requires work on the LM's portion of things. I use a lot of Google spreadsheets, and that's how I do it on ESPN. There's a lot of spreadsheets.
Yeah, and that's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it can be. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah. Let's hit up Ultra Purified OJ. What's the long-term look of Crowell, West, or just should we expect a running back by committee next season again? You're a Cleveland fan. I'm going to let you take the reins on this.
As far as long term, I do see a running back by committee. I think the bell cow back in that situation is going to be Corral, and I think the Buffalo game showed it. The Browns were mostly running Corral. Occasionally West would be thrown in there, but for the most part it has been Corral, and I do like his long-term prospects. If you saw that run in Atlanta, he just tore up the Atlanta defense right there. He cut it one way and he just cut it back the other way, and he just pretty much almost went untouched, even through a crowd of defenders. I do like what I see from Corral, and I wish I picked him up in more of my leagues. But that's just the way the story crumbles. I just don't think he's being held back by fumbles anymore. I think he's moving forward, and I'd probably be looking at picking up Corral whenever you can as your running back. He's not quite up there with Bell yet, but I think he's going to be a good running back too for the most part. So going forward from now.
Yeah, I think long-term potential wise, I think Crowell is definitely has running back one upside. Um, is my mic lowered or something? So I feel
I
like I'm very. You can hear me fine.
hear you fine.
Okay, I feel like I can't hear. I can hear me, but regardless, I feel like Crowell is long term going to be a running back one. Uh, I like everything about his running style. I liked everything about him coming out in the draft. And to me, Terrence West is kind of just a guy. I don't think the coaches like him all that much, even though they drafted him. Um, I mean, you saw. I'm sure you saw the post game conference. The coach called him out by name after he fumbled. The coach was pissed. Um, and I don't know. I think West is going to be he's going to be relegated to a backup duty in the long term. So we'll see. But
Yeah.
I think Crowell is going to be the one to own long term. And if you own West, you need to go see if the Crowell owner wants the backup, because that's the only place you're going to find any value. I think. Going to go to OJ's next question. Latavius Murray, good, bad, Raiders question mark. What do you got?
TVS Murray was one of those rookies on my radar going into the draft when he got picked up. I haven't really paid attention this year though, so I heard a lot of murmurs. I like what I've been hearing. But like I said, I haven't really paid attention much to him because he's on the Raiders, and What are the Raiders doing this year?
I like Latavius Murray. Um, he's kind of like going into this. Like as the season was ending last year, I was kind of had some high hopes, hoping that he'd get the chance to kind of take over. I knew Darren McFadden's contract was ending. I was hoping, maybe Raiders might give him a chance, and then they re-signed Darren McFadden and brought in MJD, and I was sad, but I mean, he's getting a chance. I honestly think even if they give him a chance at the end of this year, they're probably going to bring in another running back. They might draft one. They might bring in one in free agency. So I think if they give him a couple more chances during the season and he shows well, I think you need to take the opportunity early in the offseason before free agency and try and sell him high. I do like his talent, but I think he's going to get buried. I think it's going to be one of those unfortunate situations where, despite the talent, he's not going to get the opportunity.
Yeah.
Um,
I think he has the talent. It's just a matter of just him getting the chance.
Yep. Here we go. Would you draft any Colts offensive player? What I'm trying to say is, does Andrew Luck have the making of a Peyton fantasy football quarterback? As in, should we invest in Colts players just because they have Andrew Luck as their quarterback?
I would draft Moncrief, but that's not really just because he has Luck as his QB. I think it's more about the talent of Moncrief and what's going forward. Wade Urain is looking to maybe even retire after this year, so I think just Colts offensive players. I do think I would be looking at Moncrief, but once again, that's not because Luck's there.
Yeah, I think the problem with his initial assessment of Peyton Manning is that his talent, the players around Peyton were good because of Peyton, when they're not. Look at Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Pierre Garcon, Demaryius Thomas, Wes Welker, Emmanuel Sanders. All these guys have been fairly good in their own right. Granted, they've been better with Peyton, but they weren't bad by themselves. So I think if they were worth owning by themselves, they're just worth owning more with Luck. So if I was going to own Moncrief, I just want to own him more with Luck. If T.Y. Hilton,
not any team's going to make you want Dalen the wide receivers more. I think that's what pretty much the gist of this is you have Luck there, he's a good QB. You have a wide receiver on that team that's good, talented. You want to own that good, talented wide receiver, mainly because Luck having a good QB like Luck there is going to help their value more.
Exactly. Yeah, that nail on the head. If just because Kobe Fleener's there, I still don't want him. Technically, I'm supposed to because he's technically scoring as a tight end one right now. I don't care. I don't want him on my team. He's weird. But what's that?
Last, he wants to hear about more Randall Cobb. A lot of people saying he's gone this year. Does he end up like Decker or somewhere unexpected like the Seahawks? And can he be a major first-team carving upgrade?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and go first, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this. Because I don't think Randall Cobb is very good. I think Percy Harvin. Randall Cobb is made to look very good because he plays with Aaron Rodgers. I think athletically, he's nothing to write home about. I think he's a little bit above average. I think he does just enough, and Aaron Rodgers does the rest of the work. Until this season, he hadn't really proved a whole lot to me to show that he was really worth anything. I think there's no way he stays in Green Bay. He's going to demand a ton of money after the season he's had, and there's no way Green Bay is going to pay it. Green Bay is not about those huge contracts, especially with as good as Devontae Adams has looked. And Jeff Janis can definitely fill in that wide receiver 3 role if he has to, or they can re-sign Jarrett Boykin and make him the wide receiver 3. He's already proved he can do it, and I'm sure they can get him on the cheap. So Randall Cobb he's going somewhere else because they're not spending you know, 15-20% of their cap on a second wide receiver when they need help at other positions. As for where he goes, I really don't care. unless he goes to play with Tom Brady. If he goes to the Patriots, maybe I care. But if you're not selling Randall Cobb right now, you're wrong. That's my opinion. And granted, that's if you disagree with me, that's fine, because there's a decent chance I'm wrong. But if I have Randall Cobb right now, I'm selling him. I don't think his value is ever going to be as high anywhere else. So, Dave, what are you thinking? Do you think I'm completely wrong?
I think you're completely wrong. No, actually, I think you're pretty much. I think you're pretty much right. But I really don't see him in Green Bay. I don't think Green Bay is going to pay a high amount of money for keep Cobb, especially when they have Adams there. I think Green Bay just likes to throw in wide receivers and let the guys asking for money go. I mean, just look at their past. They let wide receivers just walk away. A few of them even went to their rival Vikings. They just don't pay the money for the wide receivers because basically they're able to find other wide receivers in the draft and cheaper to throw into their system. And I think Cobb is going to find out that he is just a system player in Green Bay. If you go somewhere else, I really don't think he's going to have the like you said. I don't think he's going to have success like other ones, like he has in Green Bay. Granted, he could go to the Patriots and maybe have some success there. But do you really see him going to any team and having success? What other teams are there that he can go to and have success? Patriots, Colts. I don't think the Colts are going to look for him, but
no, and the Patriots aren't going to. How many big contracts have the Patriots really, put out there for free agents?
He's going to be like Decker and go to like these low teams with bad QBs.
The Jets. I mean, not the Jets. The Raiders, maybe.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, no.
I don't see him.
So,
I don't see him having a good year next year if he's not on the Packers.
Sell Cobb.
Salad definitely.
But yeah, let's go ahead and move on. I had a couple of subreddit posts I wanted to discuss, but we're gonna go ahead and skip one of them because we running so much time. So we are just gonna do one of the questions. Do you have the threads open by any chance?
No, I do not.
Okay, if you want to go ahead and open up the second one, it's about what's your dynasty rankings for these running backs and why.
Let me see here. Actually, I do have that one opened.
Okay, good deal. The running backs are Shady, Le'Veon Bell, DeMarco Murray, Trey Mason, Todd Gurley, and Melvin Gordon. Now, my number one there is going to be Le'Veon Bell. It's to me, it's a combination of age and production. No one's looked as good as he has, and he's younger than. No one's matched his production and is anywhere near as young as he is. So, I mean, who's your number one?
As much as it hurts me to pick a Stiller number one, I'm gonna have to go with Bell as well. I mean, he's just been the normal Steelers workhorse running back that you always see from Pittsburgh, and they like running the ball a lot.
Yeah, except this one catches passes pretty well.
Yeah, I mean Pittsburgh knows how to use running backs, and Bell's there, and he's just been showing to be the workhorse over there. The one thing to watch out for is his workload, but I think he's handling it well. I think Bell's going to be the number one for the next few seasons.
All right. So who's your number two?
My number two, I'm going to have to go with the other Pennsylvania running back and Shady. I think going into next year, I think with the good offensive line, I think he's going to go back to his normal form, and I think he's going to be up there again.
Agreed.
I just don't see he's going to have another bad year like he had this year. This year it's basically been offensive line just been terrible just because of all the injuries.
Agreed. I think as Sproles continues to decline with age, they're going to get uh, McCoy more involved in the passing game like he used to be. His stats are going to reflect that, and his value is going to shoot back up. Uh, yeah, I think he's definitely the number 2. My number 3 is actually going to be Todd Gurley. I think just upside wise, combined with age, I think he's just. If I'm starting a team right now, I want Todd Gurley over any of the other running backs we haven't mentioned. I watch this guy, and I want him on my team.
Yeah, I think number 3, I'm still going to have to go with the veteran. I'm going to have to stick with Murray until the rookies show us anything. But after Murray, I would probably pick Gurley over Trey Mason. So, not
That's
that far.
fair. And I mean, with Murray, my main concern is how many carries he's gotten. I don't know how much that's going to cause his body to break down in the future.
Yeah. But going into like a startup and anything, I'd still probably look at the veteran over the rookie going in.
Yeah.
Just, you really don't know how Gurley's going to. I mean, Gurley shows that he has talent. But I still have to go with the veteran over the rookie. But I'd still pick Gurley over the veteran Mason, although Mason's just a one-year player. But I'd still have to go Murray over Gurley, but not by that far. But I'll still have Gurley number 4, just because he's the rookie and he hasn't really shown it on the NFL stage yet.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd actually put Mason last, so that means Gordon's right behind Gurley.
Oh, now Gordon. I would definitely take Mason over Gordon.
I don't know, I think Gordon's going to show that Wisconsin running back could actually make an NFL for a change. I really don't think it's. I don't think he's going to turn out to be like Walt Ball did or the other guy before him. Forget his name. But I think Gordon is going to be a good back in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing against Gordon. I mean, I hate grouping backs together by where they came from or wide receivers. Like everybody said, Stephen Hill's gonna be so great because he came from where Calvin Johnson and Demaryius Thomas came from. And that's stupid to me. Judge them on their own merits, not based on what the players that came before him did. But Gordon to me just, he's not gonna he's gonna be a 2-down back pretty much. He doesn't do much in the passing game, and that takes a lot of value away in my opinion. So that and Trey Mason, I highly valued Trey Mason in his last draft, so I also highly value him. I took Trey Mason, early second round, even in this loaded draft. So that tells you something.
Yeah, you have a bias towards Trey Mason because you own him in multiple leagues.
Right, and and the fact that bias was proven when he's already showed to succeed, it kind of, it causes me to lean towards him. And Gordon, he hasn't proven anything to me, and I already kind of, I have somewhat of a negative bias against him. Though I do like him. He's still my number 2 running back in this class. I like him more than Abdullah or Ajay or.
Are you worried about the Rams being a committee approach with Mason back there as well? Do you think Mason is going to be the number 1 running back they'll call there, or do you think maybe they're going to go more Mason going forward, or do you think he's just going to be stuck in a committee there?
You just said Mason a lot. Who else would be in the committee? You talking about Cunningham?
Cunningham, any other running backs that they have, Stacy and so forth.
I'm definitely not worried about Stacy. Stacy's a turd. The only reason people thought Stacy was going to be the starter was because they gave him 1 billion carries and got 3.9 yards a carry last season. Stacy was replaceable. Cunningham is going to get some work, but he's a 3rd down back, and he's going to be like Roy Halou essentially. Mason is going to get more than enough work to be a running back to be a starting running back in his own right. I'm not worried about it at all. Especially when he can feed on the big play like he does.
Okay, now looking in the comment on this thread, I know it wasn't mentioned with Hyde in this. Where would you put Hyde in that group?
I'm taking Hyde over everybody but Shady and Bell, even over DeMarco Murray.
You think Gore is going to leave San Francisco this year, and you think Hyde's going to have the workload next year?
I think Gore is either retiring or he's going to be forced to retire. Gore has looked like hot garbage in San Francisco for most of this year. He's looked awful.
Definitely going into startups, you'd be probably looking at Bell, Shady, then Hyde, and your running backs. Or do you have any other running backs that you would like to talk about?
I mean, Charles is up there. Gio's up there. I mean, Hyde's probably not in my top 5, but he's close. I might take Gurley over Hyde, but that's going to depend on where Gurley goes. But I like Hyde a lot. Hyde was my number 1 running back in this class, and he's looked good in his limited time. And I'm excited to see him. I mean, in San Francisco, that's the number 2 power running game in the country. He's going to put up some numbers. He's already done well as a goal line back.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about Hyde, and because I picked him up in that one league I was talking about, and I have him on my bench just because he still has Gore ahead of him right now. I think going into next year, I think I'm set on running backs, and I'll probably pick up another one in the draft next year too. So I'm definitely set there.
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited about Hyde as well. I mean, coming from the Buckeyes, and that's where I'm from, so even more reason for me to get excited, I guess. Moving forward, where do you want to go next? Do you want to talk about like anything else right now, or do you want to go to your rant?
Actually, I wanted to do a quick thing on strategy and commish questions. It's a kind of a strategy thing, but this is something that it's a good way to set yourself up well for the off season. If you're out of the playoffs and you're in a league that doesn't do a consolation bowl or a consolation bracket, anything like that, you don't have any more games to play this year, or say your consolation bracket happened, you already lost, you have no more games this year, drop your kicker and defense. The positions are so volatile year to year that there's no point in holding on to them. Look at how long it took the Seahawks defense to be good again this year. So holding on to something like that, not really worth it. Drop them. Pick up some players that have the potential to be worth something. If you picked up Tim Wright, now he's kind of worth something compared to, what? Sean Sweetsham? Sweetsham? However the hell you say his name. Dan Carpenter? Whatever. Drop them. Go pick up some players.
No,
I mean, don't pick up before. Was that?
What if you have a kicker like Tucker? Would you hold on to Tucker, or would you drop Tucker?
I don't care about Tucker. Drop Tucker. If you got Dan Bailey, drop Dan Bailey. I don't care. Trade Dan Bailey for a 4th-round pick to a playoff team if your trade is still open.
Kicker, no matter what kicker you have, then is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't care. Go get friggin' Charles Johnson, or no, not Charles Johnson, because he's actually showed something. Yeah, just go get it. Go get an upside player off your waivers. Go get somebody that looks good. I mean, I guess if you got Dan Bailey or Justin Tucker or maybe Blair Walsh, if you got somebody that, if you got kickers, talk to your commissioner and get rid of kickers next year. Kickers suck. Kickers ruin fantasy football. But I already had that rant, I think. If not, I'm going to have it next week.
Team defenses. You have team defense. Let's look at IDP.
I mean, I get not having IDP, but get rid of team defenses. If you're going to have if you're not going to have IDP, just cut team defenses. Um, oh,
You want to talk
this
about
wasn't even supposed to be my rant. This is just me supposed to be talking about stuff. Just, I mean, I'm just saying, just go pick up like an upside running back. Go pick up, somebody that's a backup right now that could go somewhere in free agency. Like go pick up like, if you had picked up Toby Gerhart in November of last year, and you picked him up, and he went to Jacksonville in free agency, and then you sold him when he went somewhere. You could have gotten a second round pick easily for that. And I bet you couldn't get a second round pick for the Seahawks defense.
Nope.
Just look at stuff like that. Look at who's going into free agency. Look at stuff that can move around. Just granted, if you have 35-man rosters and there ain't shit on your waiver wire, I get it. Don't just drop it. So
look for something you could go for.
Exactly. If there's something worth dropping them for, drop them. So obviously take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, but take a look at your waiver wire. If there's anything worth dropping them for, drop them. Because most of the time it's not worth holding them. So that's my public service announcement for the week. And now it's time for my rant of the week. Drew's rant of the week. Technically, I have 2 of them this week. I've got guns loaded.
You have a good one this week. You have a really good one this week.
Okay. I've seen multiple posts on the league on the subreddit this week saying to pick up players like Dante Moncrief and Jordan Matthews and Devontae Adams and Martavis Bryant. Players like that. What kind of leagues are you people in where these guys are available? I am in redraft leagues with like 13 roster spots where half of these guys aren't available. What are you guys doing? These guys were first-round picks and second-round picks. In another year, all of these guys would have been first-round picks, and these guys are sitting on the waiver wire. What are you doing? Like, oh, but I needed a kicker for my bye week. No, you take a loss that week if you really needed a kicker that bad. Whoa, I needed no. Screw it. If you didn't have good enough depth to fill that in, then you take the loss that week. Because I'd rather take one loss 1 week out of 1 year than to give up a potential stud on my team for the next 8 years. It's the point of Dynasty. If you're really that worried about it, go back to redraft. It's completely opposite of the entire point of playing Dynasty. If you're going to draft these players, hold on to them because that's the whole point of the draft. That's like doing a redraft draft and drafting friggin' Jamal Charles in the first round and then 4 weeks in dropping him. It's borderline retarded behavior, and it should be punished. And if you're in these leagues and they're still on the waiver wire and you're on the subreddit, none of them should be on the waiver wire because they should all be on your team.
I will say one thing. I mean, if these guys are on the waiver wires mainly because you don't have not enough roster spots, that might be all another ball of wax. In that case, you need to talk to your LM and say we need more roster spots. Because these guys should not be on the waiver wires, period, for the most part. I really don't see why a Moncrief would be on there. Don't see why a Matthews would be on there. And Adams. Right. I'd probably still say no.
If you have 18 roster spots, all of those players should be rostered.
And if you want to pick them up, then you have to get them by trade because I don't really see how these are on waiver wire pickups.
There was one guy that I actually ended up talking to about this that I thought was legitimate. He had 20 roster spots and they did IDP. That to me is insanely small rosters. I do a 30-man roster with IDP, and that feels constricting. Like I hate how small that roster is.
And I'd still be dropping linebackers before I'd be dropping Moncrief, Matthews, or Adams.
I completely agree. No,
with IDPs, you want to drop the IDPs first before your offensive players because IDPs you can just pick off the waiver wires just like that, unless for some reason your IDPs are big scoring players that you can't find on the waiver wires.
Right. I agree. In situations like that, you can most likely just stream your IDPs. But I can see where players like Martavis Bryant might be on the waiver wire in a situation like that. But for the most part, there's no reason Dante Moncrief or Jordan Matthews or freaking Devontae Adams should ever be on your waiver wire in a dynasty league.
Yeah,
It's
you're
just
not gonna
not.
find you shouldn't be able to find a 1.03 player on the waiver wire unless that 1.3 is complete and utter bust. That's the only way you're going to find those players on the waiver wires if they're complete and utter bust and they break 2 legs and an arm in one single play. There's no way that this early first rounders are going to be on the waiver wires even this late in the season.
I don't care if they broke all the bones in their body. Unless they die, you don't drop them. They need to be cold in a freaking grave if you're going to drop them. Like I saw another post. Freaking, should I drop Dante Moncrief to pick up Brandon Cooks right after he went on IR? Like, who the hell dropped Brandon Cooks who got put on IR? Do you not have an IR spot? The hell are you doing? No. You roll up a newspaper, you hit him on the nose. No.
Definitely amateur hour there.
It's stupid. It's stupid and it's bad. But we're gonna go on to my next rant right now because I'm done yelling at that. I'm gonna yell at this now, and this is for a very specific group of people. All right, people, you sign up to do a mock draft, then do the damn mock draft. Don't do like 3 rounds and leave, because guess what? We have to wait for it to time out on you, and it takes forever. It should not take 2 weeks to do a 22-round mock draft. It's horrible. I don't want to wait 12 hours to find out that you picked Jacquizz Rodgers. It is horrible. If you're going to sign up for a mock draft, please just do the mock draft, please. Or if you're going to quit, just tell me. Just, pop on in chat and say, hey, I'm out, bro. I'm out. And just say that. And then I can, log on for you and just make your draft pick for you. And then I can be done in like 5 days. And that's it. But I don't got to spend 2 weeks waiting so I can go on there and pick like Stedman Bailey. Because I really don't. I want to do these mock drafts for y'all because I know it's a valuable tool because there's not a lot of places to do dynasty mock drafts. But nobody wants to spend 2 weeks doing a mock draft.
Okay.
I don't. You don't. Nobody else does. So don't make us spend 2 weeks doing a mock draft, please. I'm doing these mock drafts for you guys. Don't make it a pain in the ass. That's all I'm asking. All I'm asking.
And speaking of mock drafts, we're going to continue the community mock drafts. This week was the rookies. Starting tomorrow, we're going to do the startup one. Starting tomorrow, we're going to have a new thread up there for community startups. Runs the same way as the rookie one. Each player is going to pick their own pick when it comes up. So basically, it's alternating weeks. 1 week is going to be rookies, next is going to be a startup, and we're going to see how it goes from there. Your thoughts on that, Mr. Sir Drew?
That doing the startup like that sounds like a really difficult idea because keeping track of the picks after the first couple rounds is going to be rough. Just keeping track of all the players, like who's been picked and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that's going to work.
See how it goes.
Yeah, we'll do the first week and see how it goes.
The rookie one seems like it's running along smoothly, although rule number 6 is probably going to get cut. That was a little difficult to keep track of.
Yeah, and then obviously, once the rookies start actually declaring, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
But this is that gray period where we don't really know.
Yeah. It's only going to be a week long. You go as far as we can in 1 week. If people make mistakes, we make mistakes.
Yeah.
Just to get like a basically an idea where things are going and how people feel. It's still open for discussions in those threads too, so make sure you are discussing. Um, if you think a pick is stupid, go right ahead. Let us know. Also, keep in mind it's going to be self-policing, so please, if someone does make a mistake, let them know, and we can just repick. It's
Yeah.
basically a guideline of see how things are going
Yeah.
without
Um.
having an official mock draft. That just at least an idea. It's a little bit simpler to actually run. That way, we could just run them each week and see how far we get. And just an idea of, like I said, just an idea of
Yeah.
how things are valued.
The startups we might have to change and do them on MFL, and I'm fine with running those weekly. That's fine. If it works on Reddit, perfect. But if it turns
So,
out to be
yeah.
clusterfucky, then we'll just do them on
Definitely feel free to
MFL.
run them on MFLs too. We can have enough mocks. We can have as many mocks as we want. This is just more of an unofficial, more laid back kind of drafting kind of thing. We
Yeah.
want to continue the mock drafts on NFL, do a few of those as well, and that way we get a better idea on how those run.
Yeah.
Those will probably be a little bit better just because you have the same people picking each round pick as you would in a startup. These little unofficial ones, they'll at least get an idea where the rankings are for the most part, hopefully.
Gotcha. I think a good. I was kind of thinking this as you were talking. A good alteration for rule number 6, instead of players that have quote unquote declared, is just draft eligible players. Players at the anybody that's a red shirt sophomore or higher. So granted, we're going to end up drafting a decent amount of players that aren't going to declare, but it'll also kind of give us an idea of where players are ranking guys. I think that's the way Scott Fish has been doing, because he started doing rookie mocks about a month ago.
Yeah.
I think that's the rule he's been going by.
Sounds good. I think I'll just delete rule number 6 and just pick eligible players that are eligible. If they don't declare, they don't declare. We can
Yeah,
just branch them off the list. That's all.
gotcha.
Open else up.
Also, sometime this week, I will be moving our hosting site from Blog Talk Radio. If you listen to the show on Blog Talk Radio, I'm sorry, we're going to be moving because hosting there is prohibitively expensive. It's about $40 a month. I paid that once, and then I realized, to hell with that. I found a cheaper hosting site, and it's about $10 a month, which still kind of sucks, but whatever. So I'm gonna get that set up, and once we get that all set up, I'm gonna get us set up on iTunes. So we're gonna be like official. Also, if any of y'all are out there listening and you're good with graphic design or anything, we need like a real graphic for the show. If any of y'all can help us, let us know. I mean, we don't know exactly what we're looking for, but if we could work something out, that'd be great. Give us a shot on Twitter or whatever. Dave, you got any last parting shots?
That's about it. That's about it for me.
Guys, we talked a whole lot today, and we're really sorry. I mean, I'm not that sorry, but this we're
podcast being so long, I guess.
yeah.
2 hours long. That's a long podcast to listen to, and hopefully you got some good information that you can use.
Yeah, we're making up for 2 weeks, so we'll be shorter next week. Maybe we won't take so many questions or something.
Or maybe
I don't
just
know.
take questions and not talk about any players.
Yeah, or maybe I won't talk for 20 minutes about Josh Gordon.
Josh Gordon's probably gonna be out of discussion next week unless he scores like 50 or 60 points. Then we'll talk about him for 30 minutes.
Probably. All right. Well, that's going to be it for us. This has been the Dynasty Playbook. As always, I'm Drew. You can find me on Reddit at EAF_Marine. You can find me on Twitter at Drew Dodson NFL. With me today is Ben. Dave, you can find him on Reddit at MTux96. You can find him on Twitter at Dynasty Dave. We will see you guys again next week.